guys? Welcome to Talkoffamepod podcast. I'm your host, Kyliemontigney. You may wonder who I have on as guest on today's episode of the podcast, and that is Savanna Leigh. Savanna is a singer-songwriter that's coming out with a new EP on June 9th called Somewhere in Between. Welcome to the podcast, Savanna. How are you today?
Hi, thank you for having me. I am good. I was just saying earlier, I am very tired today, but that is okay because I will be getting some coffee after this podcast to wake up because I have a very long rest of my day. So I need to be awake.
Oh yeah, now you got me in the mood to get coffee right now, actually. So I might
Yeah.
actually get run to Starbucks or Dunkin' or somewhere since I literally just woke up from a nap. So I'm like, now I need some coffee to wake up. But
Yes.
like, the good question is like, what got you into like the singing songwriting world? Like, how old were you? Kind of like when you started? You started when you were young, right?
Yeah, so my family is just like I come from like a very musical household. My great grandpa was like an artist and a musician, and then my grandma did like an acting company that she ran out of Georgia. So it was like she did like singing classes and acting and dancing and all of those types of things and like ran her own theater company. And then my dad was a touring country artist in Nashville when I was really young until I turned like 7, I think, is when he came back to Florida and started like doing different things. But then even when he stopped pursuing music like professionally, he had just like a band around Tampa for like 10 years when he got back from Nashville. So it was just always kind of like in my blood, I guess, like always around me. My sister also sings and we sang together a lot growing up. And it was just kind of that environment that I was like kind of brought up in. So I think that's like probably what initially I would say sparked the interest. And then yeah, as I like was old enough to be able to sing and like write songs and kind of just dive into the world more, I think I realized that it was like more than just like a, something I was interested in. It was like my ultimately like the only thing I've ever truly wanted to do. So that's kind of how I got into singing. And then I just never really kind of stopped pursuing it from that point on.
Ooh, like was like your dad like played a valuable role in like you becoming a songwriter? Or was it kind of like off the bat, like since you were born that you wanted to become a songwriter, or was it based off like your dad's experience in Nashville and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think just being around somebody that when you're a kid can show you that music is, a career that can actually be real. And I think when you're younger, a lot of the time, like people they want to be a musician or have the dream of being an artist or a writer, but like it's kind of like one of those career paths that people sometimes think of as just like a pipe dream type of thing. It's kind of hard to see it as like something that's actually a tangible goal. And so I think for me, just being able to see it from a very, very young age that like it is something you can make happen and you can, make a living doing it. And going on the road with him, and my sister and I were really young. You took us on tour with him a couple times. So I think just like being in that environment, yeah, it definitely sparked the thought of like I can do this as like a real job. And it was always definitely encouraged. I would say it was definitely my own passion that I pursued. Not, it was never like a forced thing. I think it was just around me so much that it kind of gave me the idea that it was definitely something I could try out. But once I started getting into it, no one really ever had to convince me. It was all me from that point on.
Yeah, like I know, like with coming from like a musical family or like an artist type of family, you kind of sometimes like feel like you have no choice but to do that. You know what I mean? Like with me, I grew up in a sports family. My family's such a sports household that's crazy. Like you couldn't imagine until you come to my house and you see everything at my house. But
Yeah.
it's like when you grow up in that environment of like having that artist family or sports family or whatever that may be, like you just sometimes feel that kind of pressure into doing what they do as well. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, like even though they are not convincing you, because I know like with some families or people, they try to convince you to do what they're doing. Basically, runs generation after generation. But then it's like, do I actually want to like do that what they're doing? Like I actually want to be, an artist or something. Like is this like sometimes you just have a total different path from like what they do.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think my parents definitely originally, I don't even think they really wanted me to do music or my sister. They didn't say like you can't, but I think we just knew how hard it was, for my dad to like do music. It's obviously a career path that takes a lot of, you know, dedication and drive, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and it's not always the most like stable, you know, income at first. So I think like, or my mom would have loved if I wanted to just be like a doctor or like something else, or be a lawyer, or just do something that was more traditional. But yeah, there was nothing they could stop me from doing music for sure. But they definitely, I don't think, wanted necessarily for us to go down that path. But they never stopped it either. They were always encouraging of whatever we wanted to do. So yeah, I would say that was kind of how it went with that situation.
Like, does like your sister still do songwriting as well, or she kind of like stopped that growing up?
You know, she still does music. She's on her own path, different than mine. And I would say she's kind of dabbles in a lot of different things. Like she writes, you know, blogs, and she has like a candle company that she owns and makes like different things. And she still writes songs. She's like in the middle of recording stuff right now for herself. So yeah, she's definitely still doing music. We're just both kind of like pursuing them at different paces. And I don't have as many like side passions. I have really just one. Is obviously this artist career, and then that's kind of where my head is at right now. But yeah, she definitely still loves music.
Oh yeah, because I know like with growing up, you just kind of shift in different like paths and like different things. Even though like you are focused on one like songwriting, it's just like two sisters doing the exact same thing. Like one, there's definitely one that always kind of not loses interest but has other things to do besides that. But like, how do like you make your vision come alive with your first full length project of your EP Changes that came out a bit ago?
Um, that EP was my first project I'd put out on my own. I was in a duo for a couple years when I first moved to Nashville with my sister. It was like we were doing like country pop music, but I really didn't feel like country was ever necessarily the kind of music I wanted to make. I think I just grew up around it so much, and it was just like Nashville is very primarily a country, you know,
Mhm.
place. And so I think that was kind of why when I moved here, that's kind of where I went. But like when like COVID happened and I kind of went out on my own, it was like my first solo project away from my sister. And I realized that I needed to kind of like really like deep dive that year and figure out like what kind of music I wanted to make during COVID, because obviously I had so much time on my hands and I was back in Florida. And so it was kind of like the year that like, you know, social media started becoming a thing with TikTok and all of that. So it was really just like a year for a lot of self-reflection, you know, writing, seeing what came out and seeing what what I was making. And when I moved back to Nashville after COVID again, because I was, you know, in Florida for that year, I was just kind of like on the search for, you know, people who could help me create like a pop sound that I was looking for, just because like I mentioned, the previous people I'd been working with were mostly in the country realm. So
Mhm.
um, the band Nightly is somebody that I still work with now, but they were like kind of the first group of you know, people in Nashville, like producer wise, artist wise, that kind of took me in and like heard my music and wanted to help me, you know, create something that I was proud of. And so, yeah, they were a really big part of the EP Changes and helping like kind of cultivate what sound I was trying to go for. And I would definitely say that's like probably my most traditional, like I would say pop-ish project. I think that it definitely is a lot different than stuff that I've been releasing in the past year or two. But yeah, it was a really good start to like my journey as an artist on my own. And I would say that that's kind of how the vision came along, was just like a lot of time reflecting and spending time with that band that really helped me put it all together.
Definitely. Like, where's like, did he move to Nashville just before, like, or they been there, living there for a couple of years?
The band that I collabed with for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all from like, I think a couple of them are from Philadelphia, and then I'm not
Hmm.
sure where the drummer is from, but they moved to Nashville before me. Not super long ago, I'm pretty sure, but like within the span of time that I've been here, they were here before that, I'm pretty sure. Because they're also like pursuing their own like career, but you know, they're also producers and help work with other artists. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure they had been there for a little bit before me.
Gotcha. Like, how had like they play kind of a huge role in kind of how they supporting your music? Because I know like a lot of producers have their own style in terms of like helping writers and songwriters kind of have a good song and what they're looking for. Like, how do they kind of have that same type of thing for you in helping with the EP and any type of music you create?
Yeah, I mean, they just held like a space for me to kind of be experimental. I think like that was my first pop project I'd ever put out. And my first like bit of solo music I'd written, and I had spent a lot of time really writing those songs acoustically. Normally, it's kind of how I start most of my songs. Especially back then, I hadn't ever really written to a track in like a session before. It was always normally in my room, and then I would bring the song in kind of already half finished, and then we'd work on it from there. So they just were very patient with me. We spent a lot of time, like multiple days in a row together during like a summer. And we just really like kind of honed in on like different sounds that I was like enjoying that time. I had references that I was really like artists that I was listening to at the time. And like just made that they just helped make the project very cohesive. Like it all sounded, like a project. I didn't want it to sound like a million different producers on a million different things. So I wanted it to kind of tell a story. So they definitely helped with like the sound of everything. But like the writing and all of that stuff, I was mainly like a part of all of that stuff as well. So they were just really there to kind of, help me navigate what sounds I wanted to make with this project. And just kind of, like I said, hold space for me because I had just started really working on pop at that time. So I was very like new to all of that world. So yeah.
Like with like coming for producers, like not every like from my experience, not every song or project is going to be perfect. Even though like with producers, there's always like kind of something to kind of like add to it. It's like because like you said, like if you add 10 million things, it's gonna sound like a blob hit it. You know what I mean? It's gonna sound like something that's like not listenable, but it's like like kind of like why should I upload this like type of thing, you know?
Yep.
But
Totally.
like yeah, like what was it like hitting 200,000 streams in 1 week for your cover of The Scientist by Coldplay? Like you hit it like every single like 200,000 in 1 week, right?
Yeah, it was just an insane time. I had been putting that song on TikTok for a few months before I ever put it out on like any type of streaming platforms. And I definitely didn't expect it to get as many streams as it did so quickly. I definitely was hopeful, and I had, obviously people on TikTok asking me to release it, which is why I ended up thinking it was a good idea. And I had already in my head had like I think probably yeah, like up to like 8 songs I knew I was releasing that year, which is what my first project, The Way I See It album was, which was all those songs. And so I already kind of had those in mind for the year, but I just thought it would be fun to kind of kick off the year with the song that I really enjoyed and that I made my own. Obviously, I wanted to make it sound like me. And so yeah, I mean it was really awesome. It was definitely the fastest growing song I've released, even though it's obviously not my exact song. I haven't written it, but just along like any other song I've put out on streaming platforms, that one has performed the quickest, mainly off because of TikTok and just exposure on social media. But yeah, it was really cool. It definitely helped kind of kickstart my project that I had coming out later that year. Just having people that were like coming from different places organically, like people, listeners that enjoyed my music. So yeah, it was awesome.
Like with especially like Coldplay is such a big band that like whenever it's like you or some other artist like covering Coldplay, I feel like it will go big no matter what because how Coldplay is big and like their music is just insane. It's so good.
Yeah, totally.
And like what is like your dream artist to like perform with or go on tour with?
There's so many artists that I really love and look up to and would love to collaborate with. I think like touring wise, I would love to tour with like Gracie Abrams or
Hmm.
like someone in that world. Just like I feel like that she's definitely someone I've been listening to a lot more in the past couple years than most any other artist that I have on my like listening platforms. But yeah, I think there's so many people that I would kill to perform with. Just music as a music fan. I'm also obviously a musician, but I love music and I spend a lot of time kind of diving into artists that I love and not listening to just like one song, but I listen to like full albums and I really like enjoy music just as a listener as well. So yeah, there's a lot, but I would love to tour with like Gracie Abrams and see what that could be like. That would be cool.
That definitely would be so cool because like with like being a songwriter, I know like with people like they can think like, oh, you can't listen to music because you're a songwriter, but like how are we supposed to create if we don't have anyone to look up to? That type of thing, you know? Like how are we supposed to find people to write music with and stuff, you know? Like how are we supposed to get
Totally.
that information?
Totally.
And like on June 9th, they're coming out with a new EP called Somewhere in Between. Like what can like fans expect from you, like your new EP coming out on Friday?
Um, there's so many things about this project that are different than my other music that I've already released. I think that's obviously the goal for any artist every year is to hopefully elevate your sound and your songs and kind of make them fit to where you're at in your like life right now so that people can relate to you because every year obviously you grow and you change and all those things, and so your music kind of grows and changes with you. But I would say this project is definitely some of the most honest lyrics I've written. Very much like I write most everything I've put out has been something that's true to me. It's not an experience I've had or a feeling or something that's genuinely happened in my life. I don't typically write songs that aren't real things that have happened. Some artists love doing like storytelling in the sense like they're writing a song for someone else. There's something that they've seen, but not necessarily something that happened to them. And I may be able to do that at some point in my artistry, but like for the past few years, I've just written about things that I genuinely felt. And I think that that's why my music makes me feel vulnerable when I release it, and why people hopefully can relate to me. But at the same time, yeah, it's difficult to put songs out when they're so true to you and what they're, saying is true to your current life. So I definitely think it's just like probably the most honest project I've had. And yeah, we definitely experimented on production and tried to make it, feel like me, but also feel new. And it like different than their like last stuff I put out. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like with when coming out with new music, even though it's so true to you, like you said, like it's just like even though you're proud of that project, like you're just scared of what people are gonna think of this. You know, like how are people gonna like this? Like there's always that one person that's gonna dislike the song, be like, okay, well, this might be the worst song I ever heard. Like that might be bad, but it's like even though if it's like true to you and you like it, that's the most important thing. Like it's okay people don't like it. I'm sure like every songwriter has a song that they listen to, whether it's from a different artist that they don't like. You know what I mean? So it's like even though they experience that, like it's like as long as you're like passionate about the song, you like it and it's true to you, then like that's the most important thing you could never imagine as a songwriter, right?
Totally.
And like, is your new single emotionally invested part of your new EP, or is it just kind of like an individual type of song?
Yeah, every song I've released this year, the first three singles are all on the EP. There's just two new singles that are kind of dropping on the same day when the project comes out. So somewhere between the single, obviously it's not a single anymore, it'll be on the project, but and then another song called Never Leaving, which is like the last song off the project. Those come out at the same time on June 9th. So yes, Emotionally Invested is the second single off the project.
Ooh, perfect. Is it come out like on midnight on June 9th, or is there
Yeah, it should be 11 p.m. Central, so 12 a.m. Eastern time, and then 9 p.m. Pacific time, which is like LA.
perfect? And like in the song, I was like the album's titled, the EP's titled, is there gonna be this like somewhere in between, but is there a song that name, or is it kind of like this album type of name? Because I know like with a lot of artists, they like to make a song that's like the same name as the album.
Yeah, Somewhere in Between is the focus track of the EP. So yeah.
Perfect. And like, what song are you most like excited to perform from the EP? Like, is there any like song, or is it kind of like, oh, I kind of want to perform all of them? Because I know like it can be very hard to choose like just one.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I think I definitely excited for them all of them because I haven't performed them out, at all since I've released them. But um I think I'm really excited about Misery just because I'm playing that song on the electric guitar at the show, and that's like the first time I'll have played that. So at a show like that. So I'm really excited about that song, and it's definitely like one of my favorites off the project. So probably that one, but I am excited to do all of them.
Ooh, like, are you performing that, like, any of your like, songs from the EP at your show on June 8th at Nashville, or are you just performing it like after like Nashville, like after it comes out?
They come out, the songs come, or the show's on June 8th, and then obviously the EP's on June 9th, but like the Nashville, technically it'll be the night of June 8th. Technically the songs will all be out because they drop at 11 p.m., which is then 12 a.m. Eastern. So technically they're June 9th, but for Nashville people, it's really on June 8th that they come out at 11 p.m. So it'll just be a few hours after the show that the whole thing comes out.
Oh, it's like I feel like that's like the best way to celebrate though with a show. Then like once it gets out, it's already out. Like I feel like that's like the best way to kind of celebrate the EP and everything.
Right. It's definitely going to be a cool experience to have my project drop like right after the show. I think it'll be super fun for sure.
Oh yeah, and like I said earlier, on June 8th, you're going to be performing at the end in Nashville. Like, have you ever performed there before? Or is this all your first time?
This is my first time performing there. I have heard of it and I've had a lot of friends, have their shows there. I've just never gotten the chance to see it or really play. I kind of live on the opposite side of town from where most of the music venues are in Nashville that people play at. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I've never played there, but it'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure.
Ooh, like what can people expect from the show? Like, is there any specific things you're like trying to plan the show? Like, is there anything specific you kind of want to bring to the audience on the show?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many moving parts to the show just because it's my first real like headliner. So my team is here and they're working on a lot of cool stuff and a lot of ways to just like interact with fans at the show. And there's a merch line that's coming out. There's a lot of really exciting things with that I've never had any type of like merch pieces before. So this will be my first time doing that as well. But yeah, I just want people to feel like having a good time and can connect to the music. And I hope that that's kind of what kind of mood I set during my show for the people that are there. But yeah.
Oh yeah, like I totally wish I could make it down there in Nashville. Like Nashville is definitely like my one of my first, like the places I want to visit like in next couple of years. Like if you could recommend one place to go in Nashville, what would it be?
Oh, Nashville's so big. So many things. I feel like I don't know. I just love like I don't want to say downtown because it's so basic. Like everyone comes here and goes downtown. It's like the
Mhm.
thing that everyone does. But I feel like just going to see different like kind of like downtown, but like near East Nashville, I would say is where like the artists and creatives live a lot of the time. There's a lot of cool stuff down there, a lot of live music, a lot of, things that people don't really know about. They're like underground like bars and cocktail bars and things that are
Ooh.
fun to do. Are all around East Nashville and like the tourists are all kind of in Broadway. So that's downtown, which is where I don't go as much. But yeah.
Now I need to do some research on Nashville. Like I never even heard of like underground bars and stuff there until you just said it. Like now I need to do some research. But like where can like people like buy tickets to the show if they're interested in going?
There's a ticket link in my like all of my social media bios, all of like the links in there. You can get them on that online, or you can buy them at the door as well.
Ooh, amazing. And the last thing I have for you is like, what is some advice for upcoming singer-songwriters? I want to make it out.
I mean, I feel like there's so many things that you can say just like from my perspective, there's just so many things I feel like I've picked up or learned along, the way. But I feel like the best advice right now, like at least I'll think of something that's I'm trying to kind of, do on my end as well in my journey right now is just like not forgetting to prioritize like the quality of your art. Because I think a lot of the time right now there's so many like things happening with social media and so many times that we're being pushed to pursue our artist career while we're also writing, releasing, while we're also dishing out content and there's just so many moving pieces to a career right now that I feel like sometimes with the way that it's being pushed for artists to release a song every 4 weeks, sometimes the quality of the music is getting is suffering because they're not spending as much time on the music and putting out good quality music because they're trying to just get music out. And so I feel like, once you have a song out there, it's your name and it's a part of who you are and what you represent. And that's, to me, the most important thing as an artist is just writing the music that genuinely feels true to you, not what other people are telling you to write, not what your team is telling you to write, but like genuinely what feels right to you. And spending time with that, because I don't think, music you don't want to lose touch with your artistry just because you're trying to dish out music every 4 weeks. Like, I'd rather have a song every 6 months than have a song every week that it doesn't feel right and genuine to you. So yeah, I would just say focusing on that and writing for you, not for TikTok and not for your, whoever's telling you what to write, is probably the best advice I would give right now.
Definitely. Like it's not the most important thing to really release songs every couple of weeks. Like as long as like you enjoy it and think it's right, then that's the most important thing. Like even though you might want to release every couple of weeks and you think it's good, like it's probably not that good until it releases and you probably think like, why did I put that out in the future?
Yeah,
So it's just like even though you try to rush the process, like the less time you rush it, the more better the music is and the more better the song is. It's just like it's no rush release song, even though people are begging you. It's just like as long as your creative process is working and the music is working, that's really the most important thing. Don't let like other people pressure. Oh my God, I'm already getting tired already. And I need to get some coffee now. But like, what is like with being a songwriter? It definitely can be hard with pressure, but it's like even though that pressure never stops as time goes on, like there's always like the creative process just keeps getting longer and longer each time.
totally.
And I want to like thank you so much, Savanna, for coming on the podcast. It means so much. You're so amazing. I can't wait to listen to EP. And everyone stay tuned for June 9th. And basically it's her show. It definitely gonna be so fun. I definitely recommend. And thank you, Savannah, for coming on. I totally love chatting with you and thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, have a great rest of your
Yeah, you
day.
too.
Bye.